World Regions Geography, East Asia, Part 2. Environmental degradation impacts more than East Asia. And this is important because it actually impacts us considerably. You may be looking at this picture and wondering, what is that? Well, this is Korea here, Japan over here, China, South China Sea here, and this hazy stuff is not moisture. This is smog, nitrous and sulfuric oxides. This smog is the air quality of China. I mean, you can see the difference in what it looks like over Japan and what it looks like over China. This is reflective of the amount of manufacturing that is going on, but also, and even up in here you can see the brown from this, but it also is the lack of environmental regulations. And what this is the jet stream catching this, and it ends up over here in North America, in British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon, and it's adversely creates acid rain, and that adversely affects the forest. It's killing the forest in the Pacific Northwest. So this Asian brown cloud is air pollution that impacts North America. The air stays in the unhealthy to extremely unhealthy range for most of the year in this region right here, and all the way across the Koreas. Unfortunately, South Korea gets the brunt of it. If you look up here, because there's no industry up here, there's really not much, but this blows from China in there. The brown air flows across the Pacific and ends up in the Pacific coast of North America, and the resulting acid rain is responsible for damaging forests and killing of trees in British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. The other area of China, and I have a friend of mine who is from China, and he tells me that if you're within 50 or 60 miles of a major city in China, not only is it tough to breathe the air, you can see here the smog in the air, but the other thing is, because they're throwing out so many heavy metals in their pollution, and as soon as it gets out, it settles into the soils. So he does not even eat food grown within 50 or 60 miles of a major city. He says because there's so much heavy metals in the soil. And he's a plant pathologist. So that gives you an idea of the pollution. Now, China's built the largest dam in the world, Three Gorges Dam, and you're seeing a picture of it here. This dam supplies about 10% of China's electric energy. And there is some of it going to rural areas, but it also primarily supplies the major cities. The blockage created by the dam threatens indigenous species that live there, Chinese sturgeon and some other species, Chinese alligator. These species cannot migrate up there. There's no way around this dam. This dam was partially built. One of the interesting things about China is China has actually started controlling flooding earlier than probably anywhere else in the world. And it's been going on for thousands of years in China, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this dam is so large, and the amount of water that's being held back is so great that some scientists believe the dam will cause additional pressures on underlying tectonic faults, resulting in catastrophic earthquakes. Some of the largest earthquakes ever have occurred in China, and some scientists believe that this dam, when it fills with water, is likely to trigger more massive earthquakes in the 8 to 9 range than have ever happened anywhere on the globe. Green revolutions in China. This is the ability to control flooding resulted in the creation of empires in China. So this started back 8,000 years ago, 7,000, 6,000 years ago. The Chinese began diverting rivers, controlling water flows in order to be able to develop their agriculture. Agriculture developed in China around 6500 BCE. They domesticated millet, soybeans, peaches, and apricots. Were all domestic in the subhumid northerly regions. That's the northern coastal regions. By the same time, about the same time, rice, mandarin oranges, and tea were domesticated in the southern humid regions. That's the region down around Hong Kong. And chickens and pigs were also domesticated. The topography was altered using terraces to expand farming onto hillside and mountains, and irrigation and hydraulic empires is what we refer to them as. So the terraces allowed for an explosion of population and the creation of empires. Now, this is a picture of terraces, and the Chinese have been farming with this method for thousands of years. And basically each of these is a separate level. The water runs from one to another, and that's what irrigates it. So each layer is a separate elevation, and it's a unique way of farming that is, you saw it also in South America, but not to the extent as in China. Conservation issues. This is a photo. You see these two people are using, I don't know whether it's insecticides. My guess is insecticides, but it could be fertilizer. So in Chinese farming, she's not wearing any kind of a respirator, any kind of protection at all from the chemicals. Increased use of pesticides and fertilizers are having adverse effects not only on the farmers, as well as the land itself. Because of the extensive use of fertilizers and insecticides, it's an issue faced in the San Joaquin Valley and anywhere where there's massive farming, the U.S. Midwest, but it's particularly bad in China because you have the addition of air, water, and land pollution from industrial sources that you don't see really anywhere else, at least not in this century. China is responsible for some of the most extensive illegal harvesting of endangered wildlife across the planet, because that's where the market is for that. And endangered species are threatened, including elephants, rhinos, various large cats, and various whale species. This here is just a picture of elephant tusks. I don't know exactly what that is there, but you can see some of the items, the trade in endangered species animal parts is directly a result of Chinese demand, ivory trafficking out of Africa and India, tiger parts, the joke about the tiger penis, they grind it up and it's supposed to be, I don't know what it's supposed to do, but that's one of the things they harvest. Trade in live animals, whales and various whale parts, and rhino horns. So like in Africa, killing off of rhinos just for the horns largely feeds into this market in China. Now a little bit about the history and economy and the territory. We talk about the various empires. The Chinese empires, they arose approximately 8,000 years ago as a result of the agricultural revolution. And what we mean here is when you look at the Middle East, or you look at the empires in Mexico, South America, the Middle East, China, India, all resulted from the agricultural revolution that was taking place in those locations. Well, China's no different. When you have agriculture, you have the ability to increase your population, and you have the ability to specialize in labor, so that you have the development of things like religion, bureaucracies, governments, empires. You can have people specialize in being military, people specialize in being craftsmen, bakers, cooks, farmers, whatever. You have this labor specialization, and agriculture is what allows that, because it gives a stable food supply that can support large populations. The Chinese developed a very sophisticated agricultural system using irrigation and water, and controlling the flow of water and how much water you have on the land and when you have it, so that this allowed them to greatly increase production, and the population really boomed. The first dynasty, the Z dynasty, was about 2206 to 1766 BCE, before the Common Era. The Z dynasty led to a series of empires until a unified empire was formed about 221 to 209 BCE. This is about the time of the Roman Empire. Empire Shi Huangdi was the emperor that solidified China as one empire. And then you have Shi Huangdi started the Great Wall of China. So they began the construction of the Great Wall. He united the empire. It was actually 3 empires, and he united all 3 of those into one and formed an imperial system. Bureaucracy, everybody's dealt with bureaucracy in government. You can blame the Chinese for that. The imperial system and a centralized bureaucracy. China was the first place that actually had institutionalized, centralized bureaucracies. The Great Wall was started to protect the empire from hordes of nomadic tribes in the north. This region through here, the grasslands, they would raid down in through here to raid into China. So they started building this wall in order to block these people from coming in. The success of the Qin dynasty allowed for the creation of the Silk Road, which linked China and the Middle East, the Indian subcontinent, and the Greek and Roman empires. The Parthian Empire is Persian. It's the Greek-Persian Empire that existed here at the time of the Roman Empire. This all is about that same time of the Chinese consolidation of this in the Han dynasty, and allowed them to link these regions. So you see trade here into India, trade into the Kushan Empire. This is the Silk Road here. The Hindu Kush, that is Afghanistan region. This is Persia, Iran, into the Middle East and into the Roman Empire. So there was global trade going on, and this was about 200 BC. There was a lot of global trade. Romans and Greeks were trading with India, with China. There's even legends or rumors, and there's been some artifacts found in China from this period of 100 to 200 BCE, coins, things like that, that were traded in. There's rumors of Roman troops being in this region of China.